This show is supported by Odoo. When you buy business software from lots of vendors, the costs add up and it gets complicated and confusing. Odoo solves this. It's a single company that sells a suite of enterprise apps that handles everything from accounting to inventory to sales. Odoo is all connected on a single platform in a simple and affordable way. You can save money without missing out on the features you need. Check out Odoo at odoo.com. That's odoo.com.
This is producer Eleanor, and I want to tell you about a twisting and turning weekly horror science fiction podcast called Woe Begone. Woe Begone follows Mike Walters, who discovers a mysterious and violent online game. He starts exploring this alternate reality game with real-life consequences, but that quickly becomes a search for the technology that makes the game possible. It's an exploration of power, the limitations of linear time, and what it means to be an individual. Listen to Woe Begone wherever you get your podcasts. That is Woe, W-O-E, period, Begone, B-E-G-O-N-E. And you can find lots more info, transcripts, and episodes all at their website, woebegonepod.com. So please, go find Woe Begone on your local podcatcher of choice.
Hello, everyone. My name is Gabriel Urbina. I am the creator and the writer of The Harbingers. And I am not here with a new episode of The Harbingers, but I am here to bring you a new show, what might be your new obsession, something that we have been admiring from a distance over here at Harbingers HQ. And we've decided that it is time that we share that obsession with you, our listeners. Because, you can't be listening to the Harbingers all the time. Sooner or later, we're going to take a break. The season is going to be over. We're just going to need to be away for a little while. So we brought you a different show that is going to keep you, nice and creeped out while we are gone. And that is The Gentleman from Hell, which is a show that I have been listening to and slightly losing my mind about, but which is actually a little tough to describe. So I've decided to pull out the big guns and actually pull in a ringer. I'm going to go straight to the source and get the description of the show from one of the people that make the show. I am here with the Gentleman from Hell's writer, Mark Anzalone. Mark, how are you doing?
Hello, I am doing well. It's fantastic to be here.
Thank you so much for coming here into our place of pure sound and imagination to talk a little bit about your show. Now, we're going to play the first episode of Gentleman from Hell in just a moment. But before we do that, we thought it'd be fun to have a little conversation with you about what the show is, why it's so cool, how you guys are able to put together this amazing production, just so that, we give our listeners a little bit of an orientation into what they're about to hear before they hear it. And I think let's just start really basic. If you had to introduce someone to the show, just a basic concept of it, what would you say that Gentleman from Hell is about?
That is a tough question. I guess if I were to introduce someone to the show, I would have to suggest that one of the most compelling aspects would be the slow burn mystery concerning the underlying aspects to the vanishing of the population of the city of Cold Sparrow. Mm-hmm. And it's a very investigatory oriented show, but I think ultimately what it centers on is mystery and, to a much larger extent, diablerie, where we find ourselves looking far deeper into the mystery than what anybody would probably expect. And by deeper, I mean mythologically deeper, penetrating into the very substrata of reality, where we get things such as hell and all of those types of analogs. So I would say if anybody were looking into the show, they would definitely see that it centers very much largely on the mystery surrounding hell. But like I said, the story ultimately centers on a city that the population has gone missing. And ultimately, no one seems to have any real clue as to why that is. And it turns out to be a kind of global mystery, more so than any other kind of vanishing prior to it. It has not given up any iota of information as to what the responsible force and or party might have been. And so what we find is our investigators looking into this, trying to figure out exactly what's in play. And they find that there's a heck of a lot more going on than simply people getting up and leaving or some kind of a government conspiracy or anything along those lines, but something far deeper and far more entrenched in human history and mythology and diablerie than anybody had initially suspected.
Yeah, I think that is such a cool way of phrasing it, because yeah, I heard the first episode, and you've got all of these kind of parallel stories that are happening. You've got these investigators, you've got the story of this disappeared town, you've got the story about this young man whose father passed away and has now left him kind of this business empire, or at least the wealth of a business empire. And you're kind of going, this has to just be the tip of the iceberg. I imagine that there's a couple of floors beneath this house that we're going to be exploring. And oh my God, there is so much iceberg. Like, there are so many sub-basements, and the story goes into such crazy places that, yeah, like for the kind of folks who have been listening to the Harbingers and really enjoying the parts of it that are trying to cast our investigative minds back to the empire that was there thousands of years before. This is a show that has kind of a vast empire of information waiting to be discovered. How did you guys first arrive at the concept for this show? What was the genesis for this podcast?
Well, initially, most of the stuff that I had written had dealt with Meltopia, which is our other category of shows. And what we were shooting for there is something that combined, oddly enough, something like a Robert Howard-ish kind of sword and sorcery with liminal horror as opposed to just standard horror. And it was kind of like my own personal horror toy box where I got to play with whatever I wanted to and field whatever content I was interested in. So ultimately what I wanted to do was kind of get away from that just a little bit, take a vacation, I suppose you could say, and do something that was more pure strain horror, more puritanical in the sense that it kind of just distilled the essence of what horror is, in my mind anyway. And what really came to the fore, especially with my love of 1970s horror flicks, was the kind of overarching presence of demonology, Satanism, hell, all these kinds of ideas. And so I kind of wanted to do what I was doing in Meltopia, which was to kind of grow a mythology, but kind of get away from all of the different mythologies that kind of competed for primacy in Meltopia. So that kind of led me into developing a very specific and hopefully unique mythology behind what hell is, and then kind of feature that into a kind of slow burn mystery that really catered to more of the traditional features of horror rather than what I was focusing more on in Meltopia, which was liminal horror. And I just really had a thing for Satanism in the 70s, I guess. And I wanted to pull all those strings.
Don't we all?
Yeah. It's a great time to be a horror fan in the 70s. And so, yeah, I just really thought that it would be interesting to develop mythology around hell rather than doing anything that I'd done previously, just to kind of give myself a chance to, I don't know, maybe flex some new muscles or muscles I hadn't actually exercised in a while. So that's kind of where it came from.
Totally. How do you, as a writer, begin to undertake something like designing a mythology? Because you sort of say that so casually, but oh my God, like the mythos that ends up being revealed in this show and kind of the like ultimate idea of what hell, I was going to say looks like, but ultimately I guess sounds and feels like in the show. It really is something really unique. How do you begin to design something kind of as complicated as a full mythology? Like, was that really sort of like the first step of the journey on this show?
With just about everything I write, I love to design mythologies. I love to world build. I love physics. I love to put things together. And I like to have an undergirding that really just kind of dictates the trajectory of how the world unfolds so that it kind of informs me as to what needs to go where and how something needs to be designed in specific. So I usually start down from start out with a kind of cosmological perspective. Like, how did this world begin? Where did it go? Who made it? How did it become what it is? What kind of things afflicted it? And then I just kind of drill down, drill until finally I'm down into the space where individual characters can exist. And then I think the trick from there is to have a grounding, to always know what the world looks like and how it operates, but never reveal it entirely. So that it sort of replicates a real life mystery in so much there's patterned recurrences of certain things that give you the impression that there's something under there. But, the magician never really pulls back the curtain entirely. So I give the impression that there's something there, but not enough to really let you look at it scientifically, materialistically, to really truly scrutinize it. And that's kind of what I really love about writing, is just to create that first. And then once I've created the box and the container, then I start fielding content and giving it individual representation by way of characters and so on. So it's really the beginning of just about every story I've ever written. It's just a passion. I really like putting things like that together.
And how much does that mythology change and evolve once the story is in motion? Does that kind of get updated as it has first contact with the enemy, or is it kind of really set in stone as you set out into the story itself?
I kind of create the superstructure, and then I kind of embroider the periphery as I go. Like, if I have all the major set pieces, and then I let the characters kind of knock over the dominoes, and then I just follow that train out. I kind of already have some set pieces there. I already have some structure, so I just kind of have to follow where they go, and that's equally, enjoyable. I can just kind of follow where they go and then create something in a kind of sub-developmental sense. It's like I know what's over there, but I haven't gotten into the grainier details yet. But now I get a chance to do that because the kind of character or the progression of the plot has kind of forced me over there. So it's very much the process of making the structure and then just kind of letting the story unravel inside of it and then filling it out as you go, as the story demands, but already having something there to kind of a primer of sorts so that you know what you want to do once you get there, or at least what's there for you to work with.
So the show launched, if I'm not mistaken, in late 2024, right?
Yes, I believe so.
And since then, just taking a casual glance at the feed, there have been approximately 4 bajillion episodes. Oh my God, like, it is such a prolific show, and there is so much content for it. And folks say that we here at the Harbingers tend to produce very quickly, but, you put us all to shame. How, how are you so prolific? Like, how do you guys produce this much show on a, if I'm not mistaken, weekly cadence?
I think a lot of it is just due with a passion for it. When we first started this way back, I think in 2015, with our very first show, The Shepherd of Wolves, I just kind of have an obsession with writing. And unfortunately, I didn't at that time have really an outlet for it. And so once I was given an outlet, I just kind of took off, and I've been writing one podcast after the next. It really is a situation where I got a chance to do something that I really loved. So to some chagrin, because we do get a lot of criticism with regards to how long our shows go on. I think the show that I'm writing for the Maltopia feed right now, the Sleep-Wake Cycle, is on its 3rd season. I think we're in episode 81. And I just keep going. I'll continue to write as long as I think I have something to write about. I don't like just to write fluff or anything like that. I generally want to make sure that there's some meat and potatoes in every episode and there's some real juice there. And I just kind of go until I feel like I've come to a natural conclusion, which is difficult from a writer's perspective because a lot of shows do the writing first and then they do the casting and then they develop. Whereas I'm writing every week, updating things as I go. And It's a lot, but like I said, it's kind of a love affair. I really do enjoy what I do, and it's been a blessing to be able to do it as often and as much, and with the kind of success the show has had. So
Well, but I think that it can be, as much as it's probably not good for our digestions, because I tend to work in a similar way, it can be really beneficial creatively to have the feedback loop be, to have it really be a feedback loop, because so often things are, it's going to all be written. And by the time that production begins on episode 1, the writing is done through the end of the season, or even sometimes through the end of the series. And so then when your actor does something really unexpected, or when a scene kind of hits in a different way than what you were hoping that it would, you get to then sort of take that knowledge and put it into the next episode.
absolutely,
You get to kind of bend the writing in that direction.
absolutely, yeah.
Have you sort of ended up finding some of those like nice surprises as you go through the show?
Oh yeah, definitely. Some of our actors all of our actors are fantastic, but there have been instances where they might play a character a particular way or give me an insight into a character I hadn't thought of or hadn't intended at all. And it just kind of changed the logic for that character, that scene, even the story in some cases. I've modified to kind of map onto certain adjustments, changes, whole scale alterations that the character or the actor made in the acting, and that really kind of dictated the trajectory of things going forward. So it's always a kind of mystery going forward as to where things are going to go, because I may have the plot outlined to some extent, but I'm never 100% sure where it's going to go. So I like to leave very wide margins for moments like you're referencing, just when something happens that you didn't expect and just opens up a whole new vista of possibility for the story. And that just kind of keeps me writing all day long, because I'll think of these little moments that an actor has provided me, or insights, or if they might ask me a question for clarification, and I have to go into more explanation that I'd previously given it, and now more thought, and now I've come up with something new. So I like to have that space to just kind of play around and do whatever I'd like to do with the characters and the storyline.
Mark, I could honestly talk to you about this stuff all day long, but I kind of want to get us out of the way and just let listeners hear your amazing work. But before I do that, do you want to just maybe give folks, say, 3 or 4 things that if they like them, you think that they'll enjoy? Gentlemen from Hell, kind of that classic. If you've liked this book, if you've liked this movie, if you listened to this podcast, what are some things that if folks are a fan of that, they should be really excited for what's about to happen to their brains as they hear your show?
Well, I think drawing from movie and books, I would think one particular movie kind of stands out to me. I think there are a lot of analogs there, but I really, really like the movie The Ninth Gate with Johnny Depp. And I think there's a lot of
yeah,
just a fantastic movie that involves just a lot of diablerie and evil and duplicitness and whatnot. And I think that there's just, if you're a fan of that movie and you like the way that it moves along, a fairly slow pace, but with lots of payoffs and lots of twists and turns, and certainly a lot of hellish overtures to the plot and what have you, I think you would be interested in The Gentleman from Hell. And then I would say I'm a very big fan of Angel Heart, and I drew some inspiration from that movie as well, getting into this. And I think the overarching it's got
sorry, I'm just having that moment where like the tumblers click and all of a sudden I see these connections. Totally.
It's just a fantastic movie, great acting all around, and I do think that there's just a lot of themes about where evil comes from, what it is, how it articulates itself in the world, the kinds of things it does to our brains when we get too close to it, and ultimately what happens when we let it into our lives. And so I think that has a lot of makes a lot of contact with The Gentleman from Hell, and in those terms where we're talking about really supernatural evils subtly influencing and then overtly, obviously influencing lives, and what that does, and just the kind of darkness it gets you into. For my third, I'm just going to keep doing movies because I think I can recall names better if I'm using movies.
Sure.
One movie in particular that I love, probably one of my favorite movies of all time, is Dark City, and I think that there's a lot of gothic.
The Alex Proyas.
Yes, a fantastic movie. Like I said, probably one of my favorites.
Brilliant film.
And I think I don't think there's a lot of obvious corollaries, but I think as you get into it, you can kind of see that there's a texture that may be misleading at first, very much so, I think. And then as you progress through the story, you get into the cogs and gears of what's going on underneath, and it makes for a completely different perspective on the whole story and gives you a different kind of thought process going into it as to where things were, where they've gone, and how all those changes were effectuated. And all of it having to do with, the darker colors of the human condition and the kinds of things that can happen when you kind of pull at the tapestry, that little thread that unravels the whole thing and where that leaves you. What is the name of that movie? Hell House, I believe the name of the movie is. And it's a very old 1970s film.
Oh.
And I think a lot of the atmosphere that I drew from, that I was interested in kind of cultivating with people going into a situation and not knowing what's going on, if I'm remembering the name correctly, I may be describing a completely different movie, was really where I wanted the tension to kind of live, is in a situation where you've got all these people in a place they don't really, not just don't feel comfortable with, but hold the echoes of some really horrible things that probably happened. And I say probably because obviously nobody really knows what happened in Cold Sparrow. In the Hell House movie, there's actually a fairly strong understanding of what happened previously. But it was that atmosphere that I was looking to cultivate, to kind of bring out and thicken for the purposes of just really pouring on the dread. So I would say those 4 movies, and I would probably have picked a different 4 if I had more time, because I have such a hard time remembering things. But I would say if those types of movies kind of you find yourself enjoying those movies, you'll probably enjoy The Gentleman from Hell.
Hey, I think that sounds like a great sampler plate to get people's imagination going. I'll throw on one more. If you like The Harbingers but have found yourself wishing that it was a paranormal horror story in a way that it just isn't, this is the show for you. So, without any further ado, let's get out of the listeners' ways. Let them enjoy your work. Mark, thank you so much for being here and for helping us to introduce the show. We so appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me here. I had a great time. I love talking this kind of craft with a fellow craftsman. And it was, a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much.
Oh, no, thank you for being here. And now, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, here is the first episode of The Gentleman from Hell.
Are you decide? Tonight, on Call of the Weird, the enduring mystery of the Cold Sparrow mass disappearance of 1999. In a bizarre and chilling case that has perplexed authorities and experts for over 2 decades, the small country town of Cold Sparrow experienced one of the largest mass disappearances in modern history, leaving behind only unanswered questions and a lingering sense of unease. Cold Sparrow, once a quiet and unassuming town, found itself at the center of global attention 24 years ago, when every single one of its inhabitants vanished without a trace. Among them was its most conspicuous resident, billionaire Benjamin Veers, known for his eccentricities and reclusive lifestyle. The disappearance of Veers, along with the entire population, turned Cold Sparrow from a mere speck on the map to the subject of one of the most baffling mysteries the world has ever seen. Despite extensive investigations, the authorities remain as baffled today as they were on the day the town's population disappeared. Over the years, theories have ranged from cult activity to mass kidnapping, but none have brought investigators any closer to understanding what happened to the residents of Cold Sparrow. The case, which has seen numerous leads and tips over the years, none of which have panned out, continues to be a source of speculation and intrigue. Experts in various fields have tried to piece together the puzzle, but the lack of evidence and the sheer implausibility of the situation have left even the most seasoned detectives and researchers at a loss. As the years have passed, the story of Cold Sparrow has become something of a legend, a modern-day mystery that challenges our understanding of what is possible. The disappearance of an entire town, especially one with a figure as enigmatic as Benjamin Veers, remains a haunting reminder of the limits of our knowledge and the enduring power of the unknown. The false door was right where Phyllis said it would be. The vault it revealed was massive, filled with all sorts of books, cassettes, journals, even what looked like some sketchbooks. This was exactly the motherlode we were looking for. We traveled a long road to get here, the Veers mansion. Between this moment and the start of the whole thing were a ton of false starts and dead ends, but we'd soldiered through it all. Primarily because the money was good and the story was compelling, which for me is a prerequisite for taking a job. It's hard to pay attention to details when the story's a snoozer. And I was getting up in age, so I needed to keep things interesting. When I sorted through the spoils, I couldn't help but side-eye the surroundings. The place had been abandoned for a while, but not long enough to take a look of a right and proper haunted mansion. And mansion was an understatement for the place, which was more on the order of a castle than anything else. Yet, even though the aesthetic wasn't sufficiently morose to compel a belief in ghosts, there was something to the sprawl of the interior. Behind it, maybe. That despite its size, it was keeping a secret even bigger than itself. For the first time in a string of Blue Mondays, I was about to know something of the mind of the guy I'd gone through so much trouble to find. I sifted through stacks of media looking for something suitable for a proper introduction. It took me a bit, but at least some of the stuff was dated. I eventually came to a journal marked a brand new chapter. According to the date, it should have been written around the same time Ben inherited his father's wealth, which was a blind spot I was looking to clear up, so perfect place to start. Diary entry 1, the first of any consequence. Despite embracing risks and leveraging what I believe to be my talents, my achievements were no greater than those of someone who had spent 35 years idly lying down.
The only distinction between such a person and me was my persistent illusion of hope. I held a firm belief that with enough determination and a sliver of opportunity, or perhaps a stroke of luck, my moment would arrive. But it never did. I was a writer devoid of a published work, a man whose name held no significance in anyone's memory. In essence, I was akin to static, a presence easily ignored, flesh, blood, and bone notwithstanding. 35 years of life had passed, my endeavors barely rippling the waters, followed by the undisturbed calm of seas never ventured upon. The letter had been resting on my counter for a while, existing in a perpetual state of uncertainty. Unlike other items upon my counter, letters always held a dual nature. They were Schrodinger's cat in paper form, simultaneously potential, useful news, or an unwelcome bill. Often the envelope's exterior hinted at its contents, but not always. This particular letter, sent by Charlie Prist, Esquire, suggested it was likely a bill. What compelled me to finally open it was the handwritten address, a personal touch that indicated either a shrewd or financially constrained lawyer. Having read the letter, I realized that not only was Schrodinger's cat alive and well, it was also bearing gifts. The letter read, "Dear Benjamin, I hope this letter finds you in good health and high spirits. I am reaching out to you today to convey some news that might come as a surprise, given the circumstances of your family history. Please allow me to share this information with sensitivity and understanding for the complex emotions it may evoke. Regrettably, I must inform you that your father, Edward, passed away recently. It seems time has a way of moving forward unceasingly, sometimes bringing with it a change that we could neither foresee nor prepare for. In the wake of his passing, there is a silver lining that connects you to a part of his legacy. Your father has amassed a considerable fortune over his lifetime, and he has named you as the sole beneficiary to his estate. This news might bring forth a whirlwind of emotions. You may need time to process not only the reality of his passing, but also the sudden shift in your financial landscape. It is my sincere hope that this inheritance can serve as a bridge to healing, perhaps offering a chance to understand and rediscover the aspects of your father that remained distant for so long. As the executor of your father's will, I am here to assist you in navigating the legal and procedural aspects of this inheritance. We can move at a pace that suits you, ensuring that you have the space to come to terms with this new development in your life. I would be more than happy to meet with you to discuss this matter in more detail, either in person or over a phone call, as per your convenience. Please remember, there is no right or wrong way to feel or proceed in this situation. This is your journey, and I am here to support you in any way that I can. Looking forward to hearing from you soon. Take all the time you need. Yours sincerely, Charlie Prist.
Hello, sir. Can I help you?
Yes, my name is Benjamin Veers. I called earlier.
Yes, of course. Please head right through that door. Mr. Prist is waiting for you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Prist? I'm Benjamin Veers. We spoke on the phone? Well, hello, Benjamin. Please come right in and take a seat, won't you? Thank you very much. Please, call me Charlie. You know, I hope you don't mind me saying, but you look just like your father, right down to the stubble and spectacles. I don't mind at all, because I can't say if that's a good or bad observation. You see, I didn't really know the man, to be quite honest. Well, to be equally honest, I didn't even know the old so-and-so had a son, so we're even. So, what are the formalities in a situation like this? Just some signatures, here and there. Well, that seems easy enough. There are a few things, though. Just stipulations that are odd, but by no means troublesome. Considering. Considering? Considering, after this, you're damn near the richest man in the county, if not the state. Your father was a bit of a, eccentric, I guess. He wanted to make sure you stayed in the house. You know, lived where he lived. He insisted upon it in several places throughout the will. Well, there's no problems there. I fully intend on moving into the house. Oh, well, that's easy enough then. I just thought, well, with the accent and all. I left England some time ago. I came here for my schooling. Well, there you have it then. The only other thing was that you listened to, in private, an audio tape that your father left for you. I take it that's not customary to the traditional process. Not really, but I've heard stranger requests. Anyway, I readied a room for you shortly after you phoned, so once we're all done with crossing T's and dotting I's, I'll get you right in there. That sounds fine. Well then, let's get down to business. After you turn the player on, you can have a seat right over there on the couch. I'll be in my office when you finish. Would you like a drink or anything while you listen? No, that's very kind of you, but would you mind terribly if I smoked while I listened? Not at all, sir. Smoking myself. That's why all the fire detectors have expired batteries. Well, I'll see you shortly then. Yes, sir. It didn't take long for the lawyer to start cozying up to me, no doubt hoping I'd secure his services, as my father had. But to be quite honest, I was as ignorant of legal formalities as I was of opulence. But I suppose I'd learn my way about both, in time. There was an ominous quality to the moment, waiting to hear my father's voice for the first time. I didn't want to make a moment out of it, so I simply pushed play on the machine and took my seat upon the sofa, cigarette in hand. my son, you have every right to your apathy and/or dislike of me, and the fortune I am bequeathing to you. All, no doubt, have been well earned. You should be aware that, while you know nothing of me, I have been watching you. I am aware of your trials. It has pained me to leave you to them, unfortified by the good fortune I have known my entire life. But I believe wealth is no healthy means by which to come into the world. I speak from experience, certainly. No good has come from my fortune. Only the cloistered obsessions of the idle rich, the doldrums of a will unchallenged. But you, my boy, you have vision, and the will to see it done. And now you have the means. There are no more limitations, Benjamin, save this. You must stay in the house for at least 1 year. There are secrets you must learn, so that, in time, you will understand.
As I listened to the voice of my dead father, I began to feel strange, mildly dizzy. And there was something else too, in the background of the recording. A murmuring, even a chanting, barely perceptible. I assumed it to be an artifact of vintage technology.
But, on this point, we share an experience, a clinical desire to understand it all, if only to dispel the dread of not knowing. Your most recent manuscript, beneath it all, a search for answers, reads as if a page torn from my very mind, though after inspecting it, I can see that your mind is by far the keener between us. Still, I can see that my obsessions have become you as well. But perhaps, unlike myself, you will acquire some peace with them by satisfying them once and for all. This, my lost son, is my gift to you, the possibility of final clarity. I wish you well on the rest of your journey, for if you are listening to this, mine has at last come to an end. Farewell, Benjamin. Perhaps we will meet again in a world more welcoming than this one.
The first time I'd ever heard my father's voice, and all he really had to say to me was
goodbye.
You gonna keep me in suspense, or you gonna tell me what you found?
About a metric ton of Ben's personal journals, all sorts of cassettes and whatnot. Just what Phyllis said they'd be. Going through all this stuff's gonna take forever. How's the city look?
You know, you seen one ghost town, you seen them all. Though, the place does look pretty good for being abandoned as long as it has. By the way, I found the spot where the FBI set up shop while they collected evidence. Probably been gone through by every thrill seeker and legend tripper within 100 miles of here. I doubt there's anything left to find.
Yeah, but it doesn't hurt to check. You never know. Not like someone couldn't drop evidence on their way out of a crime scene.
Jesus, Mace, am I ever gonna hear the end of that? And I wonder who it was that caught Laszlo. You or me?
Yeah, I never doubted your business acumen for a second. Anyway, I'm gonna head out and set up the generator. Keep an eye out for Phyllis. I told her to meet us at the mansion, but the city's set up like a maze. I might have even had to consult the map a few times myself to find the place.
Well, she is a psychic, so I'm thinking she'll manage.
Come on, pick up. Pick up.
Hello, you've reached Leon Oates of Apex Intelligence Solutions. I'm currently unavailable, but please leave a callback number and a brief message, and I'll be sure to return your call. Thank you.
It's me, Phyllis. I must have turned down the wrong road. I can't be more than a few minutes away from you two. I'm just outside of Cold Sparrow, somewhere in the Pitchpot Woods. Call me back as soon as you get this. I don't care if I quit. If I'm going to be lost in the woods, I'm at least going to have a cigarette. Hurry up, boys. Call me back, won't you? What the? Is someone out there? Jesus!
Hey, Phyllis. Called you as soon as I got the message. Reception is garbage out here.
So I'm realizing that, and once you turn on to Pitchpoint Drive, there's no online maps of these other roads. Thus, I'm afraid I have no idea where I am.
Don't sweat it, Phil. I'll find you soon enough. And is that a cig I hear you puffing on? I thought you'd quit.
I'm very particular about how I choose to quit things. Now, please, just hurry up and come get me, won't you?
Sure thing. Be there in a few...
Leon? Damn lousy service. Phyllis, my dear, I've a feeling you're not going to enjoy this one.
Come on, you... That should do it. Hello, water and power.
Phyllis got herself lost in the woods. Apparently zigged when she should have zagged. Headed out to bring her in now.
So much for being psychic. I got the journey up and running, so I'll be inside when you get back.
Sure thing. Be back in just a few.
The three of us have worked a lot of cases together, but nothing like this one. You generally don't see an entire town of people go missing. Not since the lost colony of Roanoke, at any rate. Anyway, we were only being paid to hunt for the one guy, the rich one, Ben Veers. And after the snippet I'd read from one of his hidden journals, it was about time I heard the guy's actual voice. The mini-cassettes were in no particular order, so I just swiped the first one that caught my eye. It was titled Existential Obsessive.
Loneliness is the inordinate sum of absences one experiences as an outlier. The loss of faith, trust, camaraderie, or even truth. I am alone because I cannot make peace with my own ignorance. The ignorance that all of us must reckon and eventually yield to. I have not because I cannot. My stubbornness is inscribed upon my very genes, or so current science would have us all believe. Disorder, they say. My need to know more than anyone could, or probably should for that matter. One medicine after the next, and still that yawning vacancy. I must know why. Where do we come from? Why are we even here? Where will we go when the sun ceases to rise? Is there a heaven? Or, God forbid, a hell?
The Gentleman from Hell is a Maltopia production. Today's episode was written by Mark Anzalone and performed by Steven Zivic, Sam Stark, Aubrey Akers, and Mark Anzalone. Sound editing was completed by Steven Anzalone, and script editing was conducted by Walker Kornfeld. Be sure to rate and review us on iTunes, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform, and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Maltopia. If you want unique art and animations of Maltopia's stories, visit our YouTube page, or click on the link in the show notes. And for more exclusive content such as additional lore, stories, and art, be sure to check out our Patreon at www.patreon.com/Maltopia.
The Fable and Folly Network, where fiction producers flourish.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why customers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.